so here we are in the first lesson and in Lightroom, and I'm gonna explain to you all these steps here and what each one of them does. And let's start here on the right side first, and let's go to the Histogram tab. Now, if you have no idea at all what a histogram is and what all this here is, I will explain to you in a nutshell, but if you have no clue at all, I would highly recommend you to check out the Ultimate Photography course for beginners, where I explain this information very in depth. But don't worry, I will explain here as well in more of a nutshell. So the histogram, let's just double click and select this photo here. In the histogram, we can kind of see what's going on in the photo here. It's like a very quick and easy way and a more in detail way of seeing where all the information is, or the things that are going on here in the photo. So what I mean with that is, everything, if all these stones are more to the right side, we will have a more overexposed photo. If all the tones will go more to the left side, we will have an underexposed photo. And here in this photo right now, you can see there are a lot more tones here. Like there's one big peak here, and this is probably coming from the clouds here. We have a lot more information going into the whites and highlights and in the bright areas in this photo, and a lot also of tones in the mid-tones. So let me just quickly show you how those tones will look like if we would have an underexposed and an overexposed photo. Now I'm gonna go into the develop mode, which we will cover in another lesson, more in depth of course. But if I would slide this here all the way to the left, you can see the tones are all moving to the left side, because we're putting a lot more information into the darks, and you can see our photo is becoming darker, right? If we would slide this photo all the way to the right side now, you can see our photo is becoming brighter, and the tones are also going here to the right side. So histogram is a very helpful tool in a way of showing you what's going on in your photo. And I would also recommend you, when you're taking a photo, each DSLR, each mirrorless camera has the option to show a histogram when you're reviewing your photos. And I would highly recommend you to use this a lot more, because the LCD screen on your camera sometimes is not very accurate, because the sunlight might interfere with what you're seeing on the LCD screen. But with a histogram, this can never actually lie. Using this, you can have a much better sense of how your photo is actually looking. So if it's going all the way to the right side, you will have an overexposed photo. Your photo will be a lot more brighter, and there will be a lot more things going on in the whites and the brights and the highlights. If it's going to the left side, that means that you have a more underexposed photo. Generally, what you're trying, if you just want to have a normal exposed or a correct exposed photo, you're trying to get your tones here in the mid-tones. And as you can see in this photo, this one is actually correctly exposed, because there's quite some information here in the mid-tones. There's also some high peaks here, but that's because of the clouds. But in general, we have a correct exposed photo. So try to, when you're reviewing your photos on your camera, try to use your histogram much more instead of just the LCD screen, because you will get a much more accurate sense of how your photo is actually looking at what's going on. Now, in this histogram tab, we also have the rest of the information, what happened in our photo. We have the ISO that we shot this photo with, the focal length, the aperture, and the shutter speed. It's also, yeah, it's helpful or handy information, all here stored in the histogram tab. In the quick develop mode, and let me already say, I don't use this at all. The quick develop mode is basically the develop module here, but just a quick version of it. and you can like increase the exposure like in a quick way through it, or you can add some clarity or vibrance. I don't know, it's just the develop mode, but just a quick version of it in editing your photos. I don't see much use of it at all, so I would kind of also, I don't know, you can explore a bit through it, but there's not much use to me in using the quick develop mode. Keywording, this is also something that I don't use at all, but I will still explain, however, what it is, because maybe for you it might be something that you might use. Basically, keywording, we can give keywords to our photos. So, for example, Lightroom actually comes with already some presets with some keywords in it. So right now I have outdoor photography selected, and we can see some outdoor photography keywords: landscape, spring, fall, macro, summer, winter. We can also have wedding, bride, wedding party, so on. I can set landscape to this photo because it is a landscape. Flowers and plants I could add actually too. But of course we can enter our own keywords in it. So I can put, for example, red, because, well, there's like, I'm wearing like a red t-shirt over there. I can enter the keyword sky. And I don't know, you can enter as many keywords as you want. Now, if you go here to keyword list, we can see first of all the keywords that we have used on this photo here. And then here you can see all the photos that we have with that keyword on. I could click here on landscape, and if we click on the arrow here, and then we go here down to the grid view, we can see each photo that you select the landscape keyword to will then show up here. It's a way of filtering out certain photos. I guess if you are working with a lot of models, it could be helpful in giving each photo a keyword with that model or something. I don't find any real or not too much use to it, for me at least, because it's just like an extra thing that I have to do, filling all those keywords in and giving each photo that I have all those keywords again. It's, for me, too much work, and it's not really helpful in any way for me to finding my photos back again. I use different ways in locating and finding the photos that I want, and I will explain this later in some other lessons how I do it, and it's a much faster and quicker way for me. But again, this can definitely be something very helpful for some people, and I'm sure. So explore a bit with it and see if it is helpful for you. Now that we're here in the grid view, let me just click on none. Having all these photos, we have some other ways of filtering out our photos, in fact.